Welcome, everyone, to Big Apple White Rose, the baseball podcast from two very different cities, New York, New York, and York, Pennsylvania. I'm Brian Wagner and happy to introduce my co-host, Nick Diminich. Nick, how you doing? How was the first official week of baseball being back?
Doing well. It's very refreshing to watch, turn on some TV and see some baseball being played and actual people sitting in the stands, not just cardboard cutouts. I think we're really officially rolling there, especially some other places opening up. So it's just refreshing to see. Players seem a lot more relaxed and stuff is nice.
It is nice to see fans. That I didn't realize how much I was gonna miss that. Because I thought, the cutouts or whatever, but when you see an empty stadium for especially those teams that did not have cardboard cutouts, it's just depressing.
Agreed. I didn't think as a TV viewer it would affect me, but it affected me more than I thought. And even just in the Mets spring training game, Alonso hitting it onto the berm and seeing people chase the ball down on the grass, it's amazing. It's awesome. Love it.
Yeah, no, it's definitely part of the viewing experience. So no, I mean it's been cool to see the storylines, the anticipation. This is always the time of year where there's two times a year that I feel like all this hope and love and all that type of stuff. It's Christmas time and then spring training time.
That's a good, yeah, that's actually a great, yeah, because you can do no wrong in spring training as long as you don't get hurt.
Exactly.
Everyone's gonna have a great season as long as they don't pop a ligament.
Exactly. And I'm looking at like projected lineups and mixing and matching projected rotations. I'm like, how's this gonna shape out? So it's exciting. It's exciting stuff. And it's cool to see some prospects, some for the first time in a big league uniform.
And piggybacking off who we spoke about last time, Shohei Ohtani hitting 99 on the gun. He might be one of those guys that the ligament, the Tommy John reconstruction actually makes him stronger. Like it could be, some guys have gone through that.
I hope so. And as like we talked about this last time, but I would love to see him two-way. But that dude is such a nasty pitcher too, though.
Yeah, he was looking good, man. He was looking sharp.
Was it 5 strikeouts, I think, in his outing?
Yeah, he struck out the first 3 guys that he faced, blew them all away with nasty cut stuff too, and then the next 2 innings were 2 more strikeouts, 5 Ks, 2 innings, 96 to 99 consistently on the gun. It's nice.
He's all power all around. Like it's good for baseball to have.
And Fernando Tatis hit a ball like about 500 feet. So I think it's off to a good start. So far, so good. Everything's off to a good start.
Yeah, let's just save some of those for the season.
I know. Yeah, I know, right? Yeah,
first week and then chill out.
Got to stay healthy. Everyone to just stay healthy, get warm, get loose. Let's get to April and then run it.
Right. No, I agree with you there. And so, obviously looking at some of the spring training, there's those minor leaguers trying to make the majors, but most of them will probably start the season at in the minor leagues, and that's our topic today is sort of that minor league 2.0, the new and improved minor league baseball that MLB has recently taken over. And Nick, what do you think?
Right. Well, I mean, that definitely is something that's flown under the radar. I don't think that many people realize that minor league baseball was its own entity, now made, separate from Major League Baseball. Now Major League Baseball owns the whole thing. And we're not talking about we're not talking about guys starting in the minors due to service time manipulation. That's a topic for another day. Yeah. But just general minor leaguers and guys attempting to make the roster, some guys that were, off the radar, but yeah. So Major League Baseball has taken over. So that obviously creates not a conflict of interest, but a restructuring, and you kind of start to see different ways that it operates for better. I think many, 90% of this is probably for better. I can only think of a small part that's for worse, and that's maybe fewer opportunities.
So minor league, I believe, was many different levels. It was AAA, AA, high A, then several levels of low A,
yeah,
and a rookie level. Obviously, a rookie level. I think the total was 160 some odd teams. It's now contracted to 120 teams, with 4 levels of the of minor league, which is low A, high A, double A, and triple A. So it's a lot of teams that no longer have affiliation, 40, 41 teams that are gone. So overall, it looks like MLB will, they created this new department to oversee a minor league and the operations, but also taking over more of the business side. So we'll see what happens when it comes to rules and all this type of stuff. Maybe minor league will become a ground where some of these rules don't need to be collectively bargained, which is huge. So they can implement some of these new rules that we'd want to see in the majors, or MLB would want to see in the majors in order to improve the pace of play, or they might want to just evolve the sport, and they can start with the minor leagues before they go up to the majors. But I think it's also going to be good. MLB released a statement that said that all the players are going to be paid a little bit more as well, which that's always been a story year in and year out, how these minor leaguers make like
Class action
nothing.
lawsuit. I mean, there's been
Yeah.
studies and lawsuits filed. I mean, it becomes, if you average out hours of training and years spent, it becomes a little bit less than minimum wage,
Right.
for what they get paid over the span of time and what you have to do. I mean, obviously Major League Baseball buying it right away, it's like, okay, now we have the resources. Boom. That's the first thing, whether it's rules, ability to change stuff, money. Money is the most important thing here for minor leagues, in my opinion.
Right.
Got to get guys paid, got to get everything built, sound operations, medical.
The
Some of
facilities,
these guys are going to like City MD to get their
right.
stuff checked out. I mean, you need
It's
the resources for sure.
I think we're on the same page. I think it's going to be good, even if it is less teams. Um, it's one of those things where minor league baseball has been such a big part of American society, as well as Major League Baseball, that people don't like change, right? And so
Oh, of
some of
course.
those cities that are losing a team, and uh, I can't. It's hard for me to relate being in New York, where I have the Yankees and the Mets, but
Right.
it's
I mean, we're talking small
understandable,
town. Yeah, we're talking small town America. We're talking, people that like the atmosphere of 1,000 people at a game,
right?
$3 beers, $9 tickets, which I totally understand, and I'm in agreement with. Like, I think it's an amazing thing to be able to have. It's a drag for the teams that got cut, obviously, because it's basically there goes your small business. Essentially, a lot of those owners of these minor league teams are basically running a small business that wasn't heavily profitable.
Right.
Many of the times, these owners are guys that have other jobs and other
Right.
interests. Now that I'm in York, we don't have an affiliate team here, but we have an independent team here called the York Revolution as part of the Atlantic League, which actually play the Long Island Ducks, which is I grew up about 12 minutes away from that stadium on Long Island, Central Islip. So the independent leagues we'll get into that a little bit later in the episode, but in terms of an affiliation, they don't like change, but I think once they start to realize that the teams that did, make the cut and are still affiliates and are maybe being boosted, they're going to realize really fast that, oh, wait, I don't think prices will increase. That's one thing. I think they might even decrease because MLB is able to absorb some of the net. So I mean, I think it's great, honestly. I don't really see a negative other than the poor, the poor teams that got cut, but sorry, man.
I mean, it's at the end of the day, and what is MLB? It's a business, right?
Yeah,
And
of course.
and over the years, this minor league system has really been kind of staying afloat. I think COVID really showed that it's just been kind of treading water all these years.
Oh yeah.
And without fans at the stadium, and without the season last year, I think a lot of these teams were close to bankruptcy. And a lot of these teams, I think there are some owners. I was reading the other day that created a fund in order to create sort of loans for some of these teams in order for them to survive. But I agree. I think MLB's resources. Look, who can help with their packages, their sponsorship packages, their TV rights, their merchandise, their digital rights, who can help more than MLB, who's really
Yeah,
the leader. Like no one talks about that either, where MLB is
%1,000,000%. Yep.
the leader of, you know, of that digital space, of that
Digital
tickets.
distribution, like having not only the actual digital infrastructure technology wise, but also getting it out to people immediately, highlights,
Right.
all that stuff. And like, yeah, like you said, all these teams are in small town America and these tertiary cities. I mean, I'm a huge tertiary city advocate, but like they were born organically out of small markets for a reason. But ultimately, the goal of the team is to funnel guys up into, like, we have a goal here: get the player an opportunity to prove that he can play at the highest level. We're no longer just operating in the space of, this is small town USA. We have a nice local team. I mean, there are ways to form leagues like that. I think the Atlantic League, that independent league with the Ducks and the Revolution and a few other teams, is a great example. You don't have to be affiliated. If you want to start a business, a few businesses, you can do it. I mean, anyone can do it. You don't have to be an affiliate, but
Right.
I think MLB owning it is great. I don't know. I think it's gonna leap.
I agree, and you see the G League right now. I mean, first of all, it's called the G League, which Gatorade is is that title
Exactly.
sponsor, and I think you'll see something like that on minor league,
Oh, he's
as
tipping
well.
stuff already. Oh
Uh,
man, are they really going to? They're
I
gonna
think
sponsor it.
I think that's the way to go, because you got to commercialize it. You got to
Yeah,
commercialize
I
in order to
mean,
improve everything else.
it gets the
And
money.
yeah, and so you see the G League now. You see the Gatorade as the title sponsor. You see it on ESPN. I was flipping through the channels on the ESPN 2. They have the G League games. Like, I'm not a big NBA fan, so I'm not gonna watch G League basketball, because I'm barely watching NBA
Right.
basketball.
Yeah. I feel
Um,
you.
but when you look at the TV deals that some of these minor league teams have, some of them have lucrative, say, RSNs, regional networks, but from a national level, you don't see these
No
guys at all.
chance. Yeah.
You
No.
don't see
No
these
chance.
guys at all, and
I.
that's another way. And sorry to interrupt you, Nick.
Oh, good.
One of
Yeah.
the things that baseball lacks, you look at college basketball and college football. College baseball is big-ish. You got your big programs.
Bandy.
Yeah, exactly. You got your
Texas.
big programs, and you got the College World Series down in Omaha. But after that, okay, they get drafted, and then you got to wait a couple years. So that minor league system, as they get more national exposure and national reach, now you can start building anticipation. Like, hey, I want to see this guy make it. Now this guy was the MVP of the AAA season. Like, no one really cared about it.
Oh yeah. No. No one cares about that. I have a quick question actually about the G League, and not to get too off topic, but I think in the G League in basketball, even if you play for an affiliate, like say I play for or someone plays for an affiliate of the Knicks, another team can purchase his contract and bring him up to their team. I'm fairly certain of, because that just happened with Miles Powell, who's a Seton Hall guy who was
Right.
available. Like, I think anyone could have plucked him, and the Bucks just plucked him. So
Really?
that's
I
where
see
it
that. I have no
varies.
idea. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's where it varies a little bit from like MLB. Once you're in once the Mets have a guy in their system, he's their guy unless they trade him. So
Right.
that's like the one
Or that
variation.
contract expires or something, I'm
Oh,
sure.
right. Yeah. Yeah. Of course. Of course. But you have a certain amount of control over a player, as opposed to,
Right.
like, I kind of like the basketball model, because if the guy is just killing it and he's just balling out, why should he not get a shot? Because
So let
like
me ask you
Derrick
something.
Rose.
Let me ask you something, and maybe I should have looked this up a little bit more before. But so let's say in that example, does the team that originally had his contract, did they get sort of a
Compensation,
compensation
I
for it?
I don't think so.
Hmm.
Maybe they might get like cash, like maybe like a
Almost like a
like we
soccer
like we
system
purchased
type
the
of thing,
contract. Yeah, like maybe it might be like we purchased. We should check this,
or
but
like the.
whatever.
Well,
Yeah, like
again,
we
we need that
checked it. Yeah,
research
I don't
team.
know. But it's not. Yeah, no, my intern, I haven't hired one yet. But that, I don't know. That's their system. I feel like baseball. I do like the fact that it's like, once you get drafted, you're in the team, because it gives you more loyalty to the team in a way,
Right.
which I think makes you work
That
harder.
homegrown,
Right.
thing
And
is
and
very
to
big.
piggyback off the college point you made, college baseball is a weird thing, especially nowadays, because I feel like GMs look at college baseball as pseudo minors, meaning they'll draft a guy with maybe less overall talent, but has a few years. Like if your team is close to winning a World Series, right? Like you think you're 2 years away as opposed to 5 or 6 years away.
Right.
You're going to reach for maybe the lesser talent, lesser risk guy that just did 3 years in college because you know he's seasoned and he might only need 1 or 2 years of minor league baseball as opposed to the 18-year-old out of high school, you know, that's you're
Needs to
taking a
fill out
shot
and
on,
everything.
but
Yeah.
you know, from Wyoming, Nimmo, like, you know, there's a risk there. I mean, obviously you get some superstar guys that you can't pass up on, but if it's between the really talented 18-year-old outfielder or like the college pitcher who just pitched 2 complete game shutouts in the College World Series and won in Omaha, yeah, I'm going with the college pitcher. I mean, I cannot wait until Kumar Rocker is drafted, like from Vanderbilt.
Right.
I've never been this hype over a college prospect ever. Like he's just, whoever drafts him, whoever gets him is getting an absolute horse. Like, and he's ready. I think he needs 1 year of minor league to tune up. He's a huge guy, massive guy, throws 100 miles an hour, attitude, tenacious, just total. Like he's going to be the next like college guy that makes the majors.
It's those fringe guys that, you know, won't make the cut, and there's just less jobs out there, you know, when it comes to the minor league system. But again, I think you and I are in agreement when it comes to that. But where does that leave the draft, right? The draft last year was cut to 5 rounds due to COVID, which is crazy because what is it normally? Like,
I mean, it's way more than. I know they cut the draft down years ago. I know that. So put it this way, Piazza was drafted in the 62nd. That's like his whole little, like, you know, his book, that whole claim thing as a favor to Tommy Lasorda. Mm-hmm. So that round wouldn't exist, but I thought it was down to 20 something. I mean, 5 is, I mean, that's too low. I mean, obviously.
No, and I think that was just for COVID.
Part of the reason of cutting the amount of minor league teams is because there probably were too many jobs and there were too many guys just holding on to a dream. But also, I feel like the draft, I don't know, maybe expand the draft more in a way, but they kind of go hand in hand. So you can't cut one and expand the other. So yeah.
But at the same time, I feel like, you know, if you look at minor league baseball, and again, no one really cared, I guess, too much about it. Besides those like local fan bases. Yep. But if you do raise the national profile of it, I think it benefits the draft as well. Because again, you're going to care about where these guys go. Now, okay, you get it. The Kumar Rocker won't go to, you know, if he's going, Pittsburgh drafts him, you know he's not going to go, although he probably is better than most of the Pirates players.
Yeah, but that's the point. The worst team gets the first, you know, the worst team gets the pick. So,
but he probably will still take a couple years before he gets up to Pittsburgh, to the big league team. Yep. But you might care if you can have a chance to watch him nationally, and he's got hype around him and everything, like on ESPN or on 100%. Fox, FS1 or something like that. You'll watch it. You know, if you're
I mean, I'm not even a huge college baseball fan. Like, it's not like I'm every year like, oh, we got to watch Omaha, we got to watch the College World Series. I'm not. If it's on, cool, baseball, let's go. I like the, you know, the metal bats, the whole thing. Mm-hmm. But he's an example. To me, he's the perfect example. That's why this is really pertinent that this is the conversation we're having, because he is like Zion Williamson, like the type of guy, like, oh, they watched an ESPN thing on where he was going to go to college, where he decided to go to college. Right. Oh, I'm going to Duke. Every Duke game is on national TV. Boom, guy gets drafted first overall. Now the Pelicans are you know, they're winning some games, but the Pelicans are on TV all the time now. So it's like baseball, you lose that lapse. Like, imagine this, when Bryce Harper,
he had so much hype.
He was on the cover of Sports Illustrated when he was 16 years old, hitting 500-foot home runs in the desert in Vegas. Everyone, you couldn't go anywhere in baseball circles without hearing his name. And then he actually, to get drafted even earlier, he went to junior college at the age of 17 so that he could qualify like 6 months early. He gets drafted. Right. And all we see every couple months is like, you know, oh, Bryce hit a home run in the minor leagues. And it's like a grainy video. And it's like, what's going on with this Bryce guy? Is he good? He was still a catcher back then. It was just like, yo, LeBron James's high school games were on ESPN. Like, and that was in 2002. Right. So why are we not why are we not watching these hype machine? Like, he's a hype machine,
Absolutely.
and it sells the game. It sells the game. It sells jerseys. Like, think about
Absolutely.
minor league teams have like really cool, unique, like kind of corny, kind of quirky stuff. Think about how sick, like a Bryce Harper. I'm just making it whatever team they were, like clowns or whatever. They have all sorts of funny names, like the Bryce Harper number 60 jersey or
Right.
whatever.
No, I mean that's exactly it. You want those I think people I've seen people walking around with like obviously you see Jordan North Carolina jerseys all the time, but I think I've seen people with like LeBron's like high school
Yeah, St.
jerseys and stuff
Vincent,
like
St.
that.
Mary's.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a
So people do there's an appetite for that, and that's something that baseball just hasn't. It's a big opportunity from a business standpoint.
Yeah, I've seen Carmelo Anthony Oak Hill jerseys. I mean, like Oak Hill Academy. Like, what?
Well,
But we
that's
can get Bryce or I mean, think about, even in retrospect, obviously Trout didn't have the hype at all, but coming through the system. But think about it. Had we watched his games, I think it would have been less of a shock in 2012 when he became a star. It would have been like, yeah, we were watching this guy in the minors. We know.
and even some of these the international guys too, like the guys draft signed from Latin America.
Yep.
Again, some of them just come out of
16.
nowhere.
16, they signed them.
They signed him at
Like,
16, but some of these come out of nowhere, and you're like, oh, where did this guy come from? And he had a crazy month or whatever, but he was probably ripping it in the minors, and that's where you can highlight these guys.
and you go into the Cuban thing, where these guys are mega stars in Cuba, Puig, Cespedes, a litany of guys. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, you have to give them big money, right? They get signed to the big contracts, the Rusney Castillo contracts. And then all of a sudden they're in the minors and you never hear about them. Meanwhile, you have literally a mega star from an island who's sometimes, a lot of the times, older than other minor leaguers.
Yeah.
He's not just 19 or 20, he's 23, 24. And it's like, oh yeah, like why are we not watching? How are you not monetizing? That's a direct investment that they're making, which is way too much money, like for a guy that's unproven. But like, why are we not watching that? Like, how do we not
hype it up?
Puig?
We should hype it up. Yeah, and Puig's a good example, because I remember that where he came up and had like the best rookie month of all time.
But Puig pretty well.
Yeah, but but you know what? It's like he some of these things can benefit from anticipation, and more TV exposure comes with better production value. You don't want to see those grainy videos.
Yep.
And it's just better overall for the game. So I think
handheld, like, still 1950s, he's like cranking it. It's like, what is it? Just because you're in a different city doesn't mean you don't have 1080p, man.
And it's always like that behind like
behind home plate.
He's also not even sitting in the.
It's like, where is that ball? Like,
it's also, they're not even sitting field level. They're sitting up, like like, and they get the cheap seats to record this, like
in the rafters of a 2,000 person stadium.
Exactly.
It's not even a stadium, it's a field with bleachers.
Exactly. So I just think it's like it's just gonna have a huge trickle down effect from a monetary standpoint, from the standpoint of on the field product and the development. The facilities are gonna be so much better. You wait and see.
This exactly. Is all in theory. You know what? And in a way,
nice, but this is the intention.
Right. And you know what? Even now, I kind of just like, the more you think about that, is, sports in general are not just, oh, that's a cool, like, side business you got going. Like, we're talking $1 billion bright lights. Some of the biggest, businessmen in the world own teams and the entities. So you have to prepare mentally as a player to get ready for those lights. Like, how many guys do we hear about? Obviously as a Mets fan, it's rough, but it's every team goes through this. Biggest prospect, gonna be sick, gonna kill it. Fernando Martinez, like, he's gonna be amazing. And then all of a sudden they get to, and the stage is literally too big. They literally will lose balls in the lights because, oh, those light stanchions are much higher than the other ones. That's a thing that happens. And so you have to prepare mentally.
There's that human element too. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, you have to prepare mentally as well, other than just playing the game, because this isn't just, yeah, I'm a ball player. Like, no, man, everyone knows your name. You're constantly being watched. You have to get ready for TV interviews. Like, they got to start beefing up the media, the interviews, like you said, the medical, the facilities, everything, weight training, all of it needs to be A1, or your guys are going to be in the dark.
What do you think about these partner leagues? I think that's uh you might have been alluding to it earlier with in New York, but there's the Appalachian League and the Pioneer League, which aren't affiliates,
Right.
so they don't get the money. Like they get
Right.
some money initially, I think, to start out, and to get off the ground, but they have to build their own um, sustainable,
Yeah. Business.
profitability. Yeah,
Yeah.
which yeah, I guess that's capitalism, right? Let's
Oh
social
yeah. Oh,
capitalism.
well, I mean, at a
Get
certain
some money
point, I
to
mean, it's
start.
got to be. Yeah, it has to be
Yeah,
survival of the fittest at a certain point. Like.
but some and not to go back to the minor league, but there have been minor league teams that kind of rested on their laurels. They got their professional development contract with
Yep.
the major leagues, so they're going to collect that money, and
And
they
just
don't
sit
need
back
to,
and not
exactly,
and
they
not
don't need to really build a sustainable business.
Right. The point of it is for the people to keep reinvesting in it, to keep reinvesting in the players. Like you said, they sat back and they weren't reinvesting it. It's not like they were making a ton of money either, which is even sadder, because it's like, dude, what were you doing with that? But yeah, the Appalachian League, the Pioneer League, the Atlantic League is the one that I was talking about. But it's that they're all, yeah, they're independents. I love those. Like, I actually cannot wait until May 28th. That's opening day for York Revolution. It's literally a 5-minute walk from where I live.
Amazing. I gotta
I'm
visit.
gonna just walk there at night and walk home. But I can't wait for that, because those leagues, you don't get the hype of the minor league guy coming up. Like, you won't have the 19, 20, 22-year-old, but what you do have is the guy who maybe he got injured and he never realized his full potential in MLB, and he just needs another shot. And this is the league that gets them a shot. And like, Rich Hill is the guy that comes to mind immediately for me, because he played for the Ducks, Long Island Ducks, and pitched for the Ducks in, I don't know, 2013, 2014, somewhere in there. 4 years later, he's signing a 50 mil or 48 or something, $48 million contract with the Dodgers, whatever it was when he signed with the Dodgers. So it's like, no MLB team wanted to give him a shot or a minor league deal or anything, but little independent league, Atlantic, Central Islip based, Bethpage Ballpark, Buddy Harrelson of the Mets owns it. Former Mets fame owns it, gave him a shot, and he revived his career. That's one aspect I love. And they get, these teams in the independent leagues get the aging star, the guy who wants one more season. He knows he's done, but he can't hang up the spikes yet. They'll sign a quick one, and you get to see Hall of Famers.
Right.
Like, I've seen
No,
Hall of Famers before,
I think,
just playing.
why not? Yeah, exactly. I think uh there's just so many positives here. What do you think about
Gary Carter? Rest in peace, Gary Carter, ex-Met, Hall of Famer for the Expos. Was the manager of the
oh,
Ducks.
that's right.
So he managed the Ducks, and this is a great story, actually. I go to a Ducks game. This is September of 2009. So it's getting cool in the air. It's like, oh, let's go. Summer's wrapping up. Let's go to a Ducks game. You pay $15. You're 25 feet from the field. You see everything up close. Gary Carter strolls by. My mom was a huge Gary Carter guy. That's like probably the first and like last baseball player she'll ever like know and mention. She says to the usher in the Ducks stadium, "I love Gary Carter, huge fan." 10 minutes later, the usher comes back with the signed Gary Carter ball.
Amazing.
Like, the guy signed it 15 feet away, like 25 feet away. And it's just like, you'll never get that in major league. You don't get that in major league. You don't get that in certain places. Like, if you bring that, and that's an experience none of us will ever forget. Hall of Famers still have the ball. It's all in a case, all that stuff. Like, you need that, because that is grassroots growth of the game, and it's not a feasible.
What
in
do
a
you
major
think
league
about
stadium.
the detractors, though, that think you're going to lose that stuff with this new system? Like, there's detractors that say, I was looking at some articles like MLB murdered minor league baseball. It's meant to be, kind of disjointed.
It's too early to make that claim, because we haven't even seen it play out yet. So you can't say it's dead. Now, it is up to them to maintain that. I'm not just going to give them a pass and say, oh yeah, it's going to be great no matter what. Like, you do still have to do the right thing. And in my opinion, the right thing is influx them, get the money in, but don't like don't totally corporatize it to the point where it feels plastic and it feels there's the barrier. Like you need kids and young people and just casual fans to be able to walk up and be like, whoa, like this guy used to play, or this guy's the next hype machine. And you need, you know, that obviously comes with the players have to go along with it too.
Right.
But
The
too
thing,
early, like too early to say it's dead. You know, they killed it. That's ridiculous. They killed a couple small businesses by cutting the team affiliation, but guess what? Such is life. I mean, that's what it is.
yeah, the thing that sorry, that's my house phone. There you go.
All good.
The thing that for me, obviously I agree, like you need that grassroots stuff, but you can't do it without resources. And if these teams were already just treading water anyway, and I'm
Oh,
sure
some are
there's
losing money.
outliers, someone losing money. I'm sure there are outliers that were like really entrenched in the community, kind of running clinics, hosting these events for all that stuff. But I think that stuff increases with MLB because with MLB's heavier involvement and honestly economic stake, because they want that. They want to build affinities with the the Brooklyn Cyclones in Brooklyn, or I don't know, that's a bad example, but you know what I'm talking about. Like some of
Well,
these.
yeah. So I can't speak to this and say that they did this, but I would hope that the teams that they cut weren't just a random, hey, you're the bottom 40, goodbye. Like I would hope that they did a little deeper of a dive and said, you know what, this team has an insanely strong presence. This thing is great. They just need a little bit more of that boost, and it's going to be the best thing ever. Like I hope the ones that they cut were the ones that did rest back on their laurels, didn't really have much of a following or community, or in a city that's declining. You know, there are plenty of cities across America, sadly enough, that are in complete decline.
Right.
There's just no two ways about that. So I would hope that they did. You know, I have confidence that they did that research. Going back to the Atlantic League that has York and Lancaster and the Long Island Ducks, there were two teams in that league that were always a part of it: the Somerset Patriots and the Sugarland Skeeters. If you remember years back when Roger Clemens was about like 51 and he just randomly wanted to play, he played for the Sugarland Skeeters in Texas because it's close to Houston. MLB plucked those two teams and they made them affiliates. So Somerset Patriots is now Yankees. So that was such a strongly, like, I mean, that's hope for all of these independent teams. Like you are such a strongly run, very strong community. Somerset is very, pretty good money, suburban New Jersey.
Mhm.
They can support it. They like it, but they're not, they don't need the actual MLB stuff. And it was so well run, they got it. And Sugarland went to the Astros. So, it goes to show you, if you perform well enough and you prove that you have the actual business, this whole thing is about business, like you get rewarded.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think you incentivize that sort of innovation, that sort of
Right.
business savvy sort of thing. I also think it's better for the players. I know they don't have a union in the minor leagues, but at the end of the day, like you mentioned, from a development standpoint, that's one thing. And I'm not, I'm a huge baseball fan, never good enough to play on any team. So I'm not going to go into the development side. But when you look at all the off the field stuff, I think some of these guys come up, and when you look at the bright lights type of thing, it's sort of the other stuff. It's the media training. It's
Yeah.
the sponsorship and endorsement opportunities that come knocking on their door, because there's going to be plenty and not all of them are going to be good, and
Yeah, that's
I,
huge. That's a huge thing that everyone thinks, oh, you got an endorsement offer. You might take one for 500 grand when the proper decision was to wait 3 months and take the one for 1.5 million. Like, I mean, obviously
yeah,
that comes into your
or
agent, but not minor league players don't have enough money to hire agents all the time.
right, exactly. And some of these, a lot of these, and going back to sort of like my experience there, when you go to a minor league player right now, I think their biggest sort of money potential is either they'll get free equipment, free shoes or gloves to use it,
Yep.
or they'll get a small sort of local like card show deal to sign cards, or with
Yeah,
like
appearance fees and
appearances, but also
stuff.
like
Yeah.
to sign like a billion tops cards or
Yeah, you
something
have to
like
sit
that.
at a table for 7 hours signing tops cards, and then you're
Right.
like, wait, this averages out to like $20 an hour. Fuck this.
So like, it is what it is, but I think you start to develop more partnership opportunities there too, because for these players, because they'll be more exposed to the local sponsors, because there still will be local sponsors as well, but you'll get more exposure to national and because right now minor league baseball has some national partners, but they don't have a lot, and really one or two are the ones that are really heavily activating. Most of it will use it for
Yeah.
like an exposure play or activation play on site. But when you see it from a national level, again, if you raise that profile, you can start to educate some of these players on what endorsement opportunities are for them. And these endorsement opportunities will just help them moving forward. If they help them as they reach the major leagues, there's going to be even more knocking on their door. They can, along with their agents, can um, select the right ones, and it's just going to help the game total.
Yeah, I
Because
mean,
when you
especially
look
the
at,
guys from Latin America,
yeah,
obviously,
I
like,
mean, you just
forget about it.
you
Like,
just yeah, I mean, you see some of these players taking really bad deals. Well, one day talk about this, but the big league advance type of business model, I hate it. I hate that. I remember there was a company when I was working at an agency. There was a company called Fantex. I think they still exist, but they did the same thing. They did Vernon Davis was like their first guy that they like invest. They
they
essentially
don't exist
they
anymore.
don't. They went down.
No,
Okay.
because exactly, yeah, because I remember they went belly up like 2 or 3 years ago because it's a ridiculous concept. Sick.
It's a ridiculous concept. It's also predatory. Like it's like, and some of these minor league guys will, uh, you know, will take it because they want the money up front. Because why
They
not?
need it.
They need it.
Dude, like some guy, credit card debt, bills, rent is due. Shit, you're gonna give me 50 grand right now? Fine,
Families. A
I'll
lot of their
take it.
families aren't like well off, so they need to help their families now.
Yep. Yep.
So
Yeah, that was great. So Fantex was they would give a player money up front, just so for anyone who doesn't know, they would give a player money up front, which would wind up being a small amount. And then as fans or people, you could invest in the stock of the
right.
athlete if he then earned a higher contract or built up
Essentially
his
get
stock worth.
10
Like,
like some a certain percentage of their future earnings. And I think Fantex also included endorsement deals there too. So
yeah,
if
it
they
did.
were to
Yep.
get, X amount of endorsement money in endorsement deals, 10% of that or 15% of that would go to Fantex as part of that initial investment, which
I hated
is
that thing from the beginning.
crazy from a player standpoint. And
Also, I mean, not to get too deep into it, but from like just a human point of view, like, whoa, we're just slapping values on people and then the people can invest in it as a publicly traded thing. Come on, man. These are people. It's not entities here. I mean, it's not a team. We're talking about players. So I hated that. I can't believe that. Like when I saw them go under, sucks to be you.
yeah,
Seriously,
and
it's a
and
joke.
like and that's where you have some other companies that are still doing that or still trying to use that model. But
Yeah.
I think as you education is huge when it comes to this, and a lot of the minor league has been minor league players have been hurt by that traditional sort of ride the bus. They're there day in and day out grinding, but they don't know or that education is just not to the level where they probably should be for a professional sports league, because there's professional,
Yeah, it
you
takes
know?
time. These things take a lot of time. Like I can't imagine being a professional athlete in the dead, especially baseball, where you have to learn every single pitcher. You have to focus on your offense, your defense. You're doing both. Like, you want me to go read about finance? I mean, people don't do either of these things half the time, and you
Right.
want these guys to do both. And I get it; they have agents, they have different things that can support. But for the non-blue chip minor league, that's an important distinction here too. We want to see minor league baseball for the guys that do have the hype, but for those 98% of
Right.
guys that really don't have a lot of hype, that are non-blue chip, they can't afford agents. They some of them don't speak English. Like, how can you put all this burden on these guys and expect them to just, oh, you're not the best player, like, oh, this guy sucks. Like, I feel bad for like the hyped prospects that then bust, because so much goes into this.
Yeah, and you can avoid sort of those predatory companies or even agents. Like you incentivize if you can build more of their minor league profile, build the profile of that league, which in turn builds the profile of those players. You incentivize those player agents to want to do more, or the better ones to be representing those players, not some of these Joe Schmoes,
Chop shop.
yeah, just sort of do it on the side because it's their passion,
Some of
but they have
these
no idea what the hell they're doing.
these NYU sports management
Yeah.
degree guys who just think they know everything. They just show up, say, "Oh, I could rep a player." I bet you could, bro.
Yeah, how many agencies came out of that one?
Everyone, first day of class, everyone's like, "I'm going to be an agent." How many came out? None.
Luckily, so so Nick and I both went to NYU. I think we said that in the first episode, but just to reiterate there for sports management. But I remember first class, Dr. Zodas was our professor, and she went around asking, what do you want to do? So many people came agents. I was sitting somewhere in the back, so she kept ripping everybody that's not viable, that's not viable, that's not going to happen. And then when it got to me, I was like, ballpark ops. I didn't know what else to say.
Dr. Zotos, I want to sell popcorn on the third level. Okay, good. That's a good goal.
That is that is attainable.
Well, at least she was honest. Half of them were like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna give you the tools to get you there," and then they just would go dark the second class would end. It's like, "Oh, thanks, doc."
Yeah,
awesome.
No, exactly. But anyway, I think you do get these bigger time. At the end of the day, you need to have experienced people doing these things for these minor leaguers, and it'll just that trickle down effect. Again, this is all opportunity. None of this is guaranteed. It has to all fall into place, and there's going to be wrinkles to all of this. But I think the opportunity is a no-brainer when it comes to the
and I think it's coming at the right time, because now we all do have so much information at our hands all the time. Like, we're finally at that point now for the last 3-4 years where everyone does have the internet constantly, 5 years, 6 years, however long it's been, to the point where that education can then get to them ASAP whenever they need, whenever they want, whether it's someone feeding it to them or them doing it themselves. So this to me feels like the culmination of many different factors of, like you said, the predatory agencies, the predatory endorsement deals that we're getting one over on people. No, I think that we're gonna finally start to see those sharks are gonna be kind of cut out, because we do have more information. And if MLB kind of steps in and says, whoa, like, let's make it so these guys are not set up for failure, which is what this is, in my opinion. I think it's gonna be good, man. I think we're gonna see a new product. It's almost a new product.
Where, and again, this is all potential, but where I also see a potential in creating a pipeline for future either coaches or future umpires or future all this episode. It's kind of
umpires is even better than coaches, because half these dudes have to coach umpire high school and college for 30 years, and they don't make it they make it to the majors by the time they're 50, and then all of a sudden it's like, dude, hey, you wasted half your life. Like,
but you need not wasted,
but you know what I mean.
But as I know some of these things can be a little more automated, I guess, in the future, but umpiring and coaching is two of the most important aspects of the game. And so if you start to develop sort of that pipeline, because not everybody, even in this new contracted league, not everybody's going to make it. But if you start to develop a pipeline of people that can go either host their own clinics where in their hometowns, or and that's their business, they start that business, that's baseball development from a grassroots level, or they go in and become coaches for colleges or for high schools. You want people to go back into the system to continue to spread that baseball love all over the place.
And
talented people in those positions.
100%. And now, how many times recently have we seen guys get hired as a head coach, as a manager, just because he's the hot name, he's the hot candidate, he's the sexy pick, he's the ex-player who just retired 2 years ago, so they're gonna flip him on the manager. And not even Beltran's a bad example, because I do think Beltran's one of the smartest players, one of the best players that I've watched. I mean, I think he's a Hall of Famer, but like all right, Gabe Kapler, right? Like, the guy was in systems, he was in executive offices. It's pretty well documented that he was a little bit strange towards people. He had a very frictional, I don't know, a lot of friction relationships.
We'll take whatever.
where that was, pretty, where it's like, oh, there was contentious, blah, blah. He gets hired by the Phillies, fired 2 years later. Cause guess what? Like, just because you played and were in an office doesn't mean that you were necessarily built for managing a baseball team day in and day out. And I think guys need to get humble, and yeah, they should almost have to start low level. I mean, the best managers, where did they start? They started minor league stuff. We're not
Yeah.
talking Casey Stengel here. I'm talking like
Yeah.
La Russa, Tony La Russa has got how many wins? He's still managing. He's of that era. Like, he started in the minor leagues.
It does seem to be going the opposite way though, currently in the
Yeah,
majors, but
and look what's happening. These guys are getting canned.
but
Seriously.
it's true. But you also, do see that opportunity as well, because again, a lot of these guys just won't become major leaguers, but they'll still, have value to the game, to the sport,
Yeah.
in any other way. And that's how MLB has their academies where they sign these players. Not everybody's going to make it either, so they try to say, okay, how do we create a sustainable system, where these guys can actually have the skills, in order to go back and have a career in baseball, whether that's as a scout, even as a scout. Like, there's so many different baseball jobs
Oh,
that
100%.
you know we should go back to NYU, and start telling some of these kids, hey, by the way,
Oh,
there's more than
yeah.
just being an agent.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
but um but either way, it's definitely, the opportunity is there. So um yeah, I mean, what do you think? Got anything else to add, Nick? I think we covered a lot on
I
this
mean,
minor league.
like, I think a huge part of it, I mean, obviously not, like, a huge part of it is you're never going to be able to make every player make it, because that's the reality of life. Like, sorry, like, but I think that the system was so outdated, for numerous reasons, not just the media, not just the infrastructure, all that stuff. It was just outdated in the thinking of like sports are just a ragtag side hobby, where it just needed to be modernized, and the fastest way to expedite it is the head honchos taking over. Like, like, put it this way: had it been like, oh, minor league baseball is being taken over by another giant conglomerate that's not necessarily Major League Baseball, but like they want to influx the money and do it, it
Mhm.
would have really convoluted the process. Or if the players tried to unionize, all that stuff would have just convoluted this whole process, where I think that, I mean, so far, obviously it still has to, play. You still have to play, but what
I
are you gonna
think,
do? I think it's great. So, I mean, I want to see how it shakes out. Let's give it 2 years before we're like totally
yeah, I mean,
declaring it a
all of
win or
this.
loss. But
Yeah,
I don't think it could be a loss.
I think the especially the point of this episode, it's just, it's so new that it's something to react to, but it's something to, okay, do we see the opportunity, or do we don't? And I think a lot of the news out there is, and I know your opinion on the commissioner, and and the commissioner, Rob Manfred, and the leadership there, but
Yeah, I mean,
I think this is a good decision, a decision that's, will help the sport, or has the opportunity to help the sport. And it's
yeah,
all about
and
opportunity. Do we see the
oh,
positive
100%.
opportunity? Do we see the benefits? Because a lot of people are crying, what's saying this is all, terrible for small,
How? Yeah, it sucks for the guys who lost their business, but they probably should have been more astute. And as far as commissioner goes, I mean, there's no commissioner in any sport that's like, oh, we love this guy. I mean, he represents the owners who usually just want to put the player down. And then, yeah, Manfred has done some stuff that's like, wow, why are we doing this? But he's not. It's not
you got to
that.
build a
It's
sustainable business, and that's,
yeah,
I know the owners are
exactly.
billionaires, and so, like, there's no sympathy for them
Yeah.
because they're billionaires. But at the same time, you got to build a sustainable business,
And like
because
we said last time, it's like you're never gonna know if something works or doesn't work unless you try it. So
right.
at least he's like putting his chips on the table and saying, we're gonna try it, for better or for worse. Write your articles, criticize me, call me whatever names you want. That's a lot different than the guy before him did, who was just, oh, I was in the background, I didn't know, I never wanted to make any changes, and then it was too late, and then he goes to make changes, it was too late. So whatever. I mean, it's fine. Like, it could be a lot worse. I think it could be a
Yeah.
lot worse.
No, I agree, and no, I think it's a good thing. But yeah, we can wrap this episode up.
I mean, I've got trivia for you,
That's
son.
where I was gonna head now. It's time. It's trivia time. Eventually, we'll have some cool graphics.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, we're
Yeah,
production
trivia.
value is gonna leap. We're gonna get interns, a research department, a production team. It's gonna leap. But
Yeah,
for
so if
right
you'd
now,
like to
we're
donate, please check out our GoFundMe now.
yeah. Right now we're going organic. I take Venmo too. So
So let's hear it. Let's hear it.
all right,
You'll
I
go
got you.
first. I have one too, but you'll go first.
All right. So we're gonna keep it minor league themed, obviously. Who, and it's pretty straightforward. Maybe you know this, maybe you don't. I have no idea. I did not know this. Who has hit the most home runs in the minor leagues in minor league history as a minor leaguer?
Is it someone that I would know, or is like a career?
I
minor league?
highly doubt that you know this person's name because I've never seen this person's name until I found this question. He got an amazing nickname too.
Never gonna know.
I mean, he retired. Put it this way: he retired in 1984 at the age of 44.
No shot. Did he ever make the majors?
No.
Yeah.
All right. His name, and now I'm very happy that we're putting this out there because he needs to live forever as a legend. Hector Espino. 484 home runs in the minors. He was a Mexican League legend. His nickname was the Chihuahua Superman.
The Chihuahua Superman?
And he apparently got offers from the Mets, Cardinals, and Padres, and was like, "Nope, I will be staying in Mexico." So he had 484 bombs, and was like, "You know what? This is good enough for me. I'll be the home run king of the minors."
Good for him, man. Good for him. And I'll
the
tell you
what,
Superman. I'll tell you what, though, that Mexican baseball, they have a lot of pride in their local leagues. And that's another
Kenny
topic
Powers.
for another day, but Kenny Powers. So I have a non-minor league. I should have thought about
That's cool.
We'll get there. But non-minor league related question. But this has to do with managers. We talked about managers here today. So I don't think you're going to get this either, by the way.
Never underestimate me.
So on the list of the most consecutive seasons managing one single team, Connie Mack is first with 50 seasons managing one team. John McGraw is second with 31. Who is third? It is, I'll tell you too, the hint here is not Tommy Lasorda or Bobby Cox. They're fourth.
They're tied for fourth.
Yeah.
And how many seasons was this number 3 person?
23 seasons.
23 years with one team is pretty long, pretty long time.
Yeah.
All right. But it gets tough because in the old days they just used to just have, he's the manager, just let him go. Is it really old, or are we talking?
I think you're on the right track.
Is it Casey Stengel?
See, that was my guess. It is not Casey Stengel.
No, I know. That would have been too easy. I would have been like, how are you gonna give me a question where Casey? I already mentioned him earlier in the freaking thing.
No, you want to go one more? I'll give you one more guess.
Wait,
one more guess.
Oh man.
You want me to tell you the team he managed?
That would be cool.
Brooklyn.
Oh, Leo DeRocher.
No, but I knew you were going to say that one too. Yes. I think this guy replaced Leo DeRocher. Walter Alston.
Really? I know that's not a name I know. I'll be honest with you.
He managed all those Dodgers teams in the 50s.
So when they moved to LA?
Even before they moved to LA. But
right. He took over. They were in Brooklyn. They moved to LA, and then they started winning World Series. So he was the guy when
he won those World Series with them. Yeah, in those.
With like Koufax and whatnot.
I think before Koufax.
Or a little before. Well, 23 years.
No, it's true actually. Yeah, I think he took over after DeRocher, if I'm not mistaken. And then when the Dodgers and Giants were just owning the National League during the 50s.
Yeah. There was only like 8 teams in the league, so Dodgers, Giants.
How do you even look at the records there and say, yeah, that guy was better than?
Yeah, I know. That's part of the evolution of the game, though. That's why it's the best sport ever, because it's so old. They've been doing this since the 1800s. So
Yeah.
That's why it's great. And those things are just fun. It's just funny. It's funny story. But I will say one last thing, and this is going to be the cliffhanger for next week. We can talk about Jimmy Rollins is not a Hall of Famer. No chance, no way, no how. And that's how we're ending this. We'll talk about that another time.
All right.
I looked it up. Nope.
I think you might have been on the wrong page, man. He's a Hall of Fame. He's a Hall of Famer.
We will see. We will have
We
a
will see.
stats debate about this.
We'll have this debate. So
We will.
thanks everyone for listening. I'm gonna do one of these YouTube things. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Like, subscribe, comment. Even if you hate us,
even if you hate us
comment.
and you think like, what about that dweeb that we can't hear him more?
Like, what are these guys rambling about for an hour?
Exactly. Like, can you get some graphics?
We'll get there. Big Apple White Rose, subscribe.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks
for listening. Bye-bye.